Hello, and welcome to another episode of Set-4-Life Conversations, where we help you get your mind right and your money right by discussing life strategies for the everyday person. I'm your host, Thomas Lacoma, and each episode will spend some time with financial advisor, pastor, and motivational speaker, published author, and former college athlete, George Thompson, as he shares with us wisdom that you can put into practice today. In today's episode, we talk about the power of your mind. We talk about the importance of your mindset when dealing with your money and how to make your mindset and your words a powerful weapon in your success. All right. Welcome to Set-4-Life Conversations with George Thompson. And today, hey, George, it's so interesting because right now, everybody's supposed to be, if things were the way they used to be, we'd all be watching the playoffs. You know, you and I, big basketball fans, would be trying to see who's going to win the championship. But since that's not going on, people need their basketball fix. So what they doing? They're watching The Last Dance. And I know that you're watching it. So I want to hear from you. What do you think of Last Dance so far? Tell me a little bit about some of the things you remember when Michael Jordan was playing.
Right. So first of all, I want to say I am watching The Last Dance, and it's interesting watching all of the, I'm going to use the word characters and people that are involved in everything. But also, it's just I've always been a Michael Jordan fan, and all that he's done, and it's very interesting showing how. It started off with him in college and his drive. And there's a time when they even coach it. He goes, I want to be the best. I want to be the best player that you've ever had here. He didn't say I want to be the best player on the best guard or the best offensive, or, this, that player, meaning all around, and then his drive to be able to do that. So just Michael Jordan's drive all the time to strive to be the very best. And there's a couple lessons that you learn in there. First is to be the very best. Second is when he first got in the NBA, he never got intimidated. That was one of the first things that I just really learned about that is that usually people take a year to kind of learn and adjust. And he went after some of the best. He saw the interview with Sidney Moncrief for people that were the best defensive players. He said they always lost to the Bucks and different things. And then he was like, wait a minute, this guy is the real deal. So whenever he came in, he always did what it took to be the very best. But also, I want other people to remember this. Don't get intimidated. You get in a different situation, or you go to you get to where you wanted, where you thought, where you're supposed to be at the highest point, but maybe you are set to be the very best at that. So the way that he did that, also his relentless pursuit to win. So he knew he had to start gathering other players and have them get involved. And he changed his game several times and worked on all aspects of it. And that's some of the things that we need to do in our lives is to work on all aspects of our game.
Yeah, I there's a couple of things I read an article. My brother sent me an article on WhatsApp because everybody's writing all these pieces about stories with Jordan. So Michael Wilbon, who's a journalist who's from Chicago, he was working in Washington at the time, and he had been sent to do an article about Alonzo Mourning. Alonzo Mourning was a rookie at the time, and he was doing all these great records and, with his scoring and rebounding, blocks, all that stuff. So he was, pretty hot stuff at the time. So Michael Wilbon has to go into Chicago and write this piece about Alonzo Mourning. And he knew because he was supposed to get some sound bites from the locker room, the Chicago Bulls locker room about Alonzo Mourning. So he goes in there and he knows he doesn't want to bring this up because he knows how Jordan is, right? So Jordan asked him, why are you up here? You from Chicago, but I know you down in Washington. Why are you up here today? He was like, I just came to see family and everything. So then he tries to sneak in the question around Alonzo Mourning, and Michael Jordan figures out that he's here to write a story about Alonzo Mourning. He's like, you from Chicago, and you came all the way up here in Chicago to write about that dude from Georgetown? Because Michael Jordan he had a big rivalry with Georgetown,
big time,
and so he never forgot that. So he as soon as he figured it out. He was like, you know what kind of story are you going to write if he has no points? And then Wilbon was like, what? what kind of story are you going to write if he has no points? And then Michael Wilbon was trying to back out of this whole thing, and Jordan was serious. Like he said, Michael Wilbon was telling the story. He said during that game, Alonzo Mourning scored a little bit, but every time Jordan was on the floor, Alonzo did not score. He double teamed him. He did everything, you know. So that's just telling you how this guy,
Competitive.
because he was playing against the Charlotte Hornets. Probably at that time, the team itself was not. There wasn't anything to get him excited. So he got this little piece of information where he was like, "Okay, that's my goal today. Let me shut this dude down." You know.
Right. But
Yeah.
he gets beat up a little bit about that sometimes. But his
Hmm.
competitive spirit, I mean,
Yeah,
it's right.
I think I've seen that everything can be taken to an extreme, and you
Right.
know, he had such a drive that in certain areas of his life, some of his relationships and so on, it kind of pushed a little too much, right?
Yeah, yeah. His Hall of Fame speech. You hear a little bit about that. And when I heard, he probably want to say a little more,
Yeah,
but yeah, but what he's done for the game and his love of the game and his
yeah,
competitive spirit. There's
absolutely.
a lot you can learn from. You can learn from that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can learn, definitely. Well, I think that was a perfect intro into today's topic because today we're going to talk about the topic of mindset. In our tagline, we say that this show helps you to get your mind right and your money right. So I wanted to kind of drill into that a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between mindset and money?
Yes.
And
So,
what do we mean when we say mindset?
well, first of all, when you have the mindset, you want to have the right mindset. You know, as a man thinketh, so is he. And you have to start thinking the correct way because your mindset and how you think will actually dictate the level that you'll be at. As you know, everyone right now is in life right now based on the subtotal of all the decisions you've made so far. Where you went to college, where you work, different things, what kind of car you drive. Also, what you accomplish is based on your mindset. So that has to be done, and that has to be where there's a focus. So first of all, everything needs to be positive. You need to stop thinking about negative things. It's interesting now we're with the coronavirus and everything, but actually, if you look at a computer, a hard drive on a computer, one of the things that affects, only thing that helps a computer grow is having the correct data. If a computer gets a virus, that means that it happens in the computer where it can have a problem with the computer. So you want to have the computer be able to have good information and good data to get good results. You've heard the old term garbage in, garbage out. So
Hmm.
we want to have actually a good mindset. It's very interesting also with my kids is that when I was driving them to school, we also, other than doing our spelling words, we also did an affirmation song where they would learn how to do affirmations on the way to school because I'm a big fan of affirmations. We do them whenever I start a seminar. You always hear me always
Hmm.
start off. I say, everybody stand up. We pray. Then they start off by, we start affirming who you are. I'm an excellent learner. I have a photographic memory. My nickname should be Kodak because once you
Hmm.
say it, it's like you took a picture of it.
Hmm.
Start saying positive things. Then you also begin to believe them and you're programmed. So then that's what happens. Like we never say, I have bad credit. No, we don't. It's challenge, and then we work on it. Remember, that's what the money part. Then
Hmm.
we fix it, then we move on. And I'm an excellent investor. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I'm wise. Oh my gosh, I'm about to start a seminar right now. But we start by using. It starts by having positive, and you always think in the present tense.
Hmm.
And your mindset, your
Let's talk a
attitude
little bit
has your
about that,
altitude.
the whole present tense thing. Why is that important?
It is because a lot of times people think that whenever you invest money, it always says this. You always have to give these disclaimers. Past performance is not indicative of future results, meaning that if the stock did good in the past, it may not do as well in the future. But then on
Hmm.
the other side, the flip side of this is if it was doing bad in the future, that doesn't mean that it can't go up now or it can't do
Hmm.
well. So a lot of times people are dictated by their past, one, or negative things people have said about them in the past. So what you need to deal in right now is if you want to be actually be successful, is deal in the present and in the future. I
Hmm.
don't spend a lot of time about the past. I spend it in the present and in the future because those are two things you can change. I can't change the past.
Yeah. And one of the things I've read a lot about the importance of your terminology really anchoring into the present is that it happens the other direction as well. If everything you're saying is about the future, so if you say I'm going to or I will and so on,
Right.
what happens is your mind believes those things are they're not yet here. Like
Right.
you're not becoming them. It's
Right.
something that you're going to do in the
Right.
future that you're going to have to happen in the future, and it actually the affirmation is a little weaker than if you make it right now. This is who I am.
That's great. You're actually leading into you're right. And part of Set for Life is we're always saying, I am or I'm doing. We're not doing it.
Hmm.
I am an excellent money manager. I am debt free. Now I will someday. Like you want to you start speaking in the present tense
Hmm.
because that's who you're realizing who you are and you're affirming who you are and you're saying that. That's almost as important as when we used to do seminars. We had people come in and we give them a standing ovation when they came in to clap because I said, I'm giving it to you in advance because sometimes people have never been affirmed that way. And I
Yeah.
watch people's eyes when I'm up going like this. I'm debt free. People like this when I say, I'm debt free. Like, I've never said that before.
Yeah.
I'm an excellent investor.
And it's a
I'm
weird,
healthy.
it's
Right.
like a
Yeah.
wonderful feeling when you start to put those things on as your new personality, right?
Right. But actually, that's, you got to speak to who you are and you got to
Hmm.
speak to that. And you see here, sometimes we keep bringing up kids, but like I actually communicate to my kids that way. Like in the morning, hey, how are you doing? Son, you're handsome today. You're good. Then we're always talking to them. And there's certain things I never say to my kids. During our Building Generational Wealth seminar, I even said that and I got a lot of comments on that. I've never told my kids we can't afford anything. I've never
Hmm.
said that. They can walk into the thing and say, "Here, this is a thing." And they'll say things to me. I'll tell them, "Can we do this? Can we buy that? Can we do this?" They used to. They don't really do that as much anymore. I look them directly in the face, other than looking shocked when they ask me to buy something that's an impulse or something like that. I say that's not how we allocate our assets.
Hmm.
That's not how we allocate our resources. What am I really saying to them? We have it, but that's not what we do.
Hmm.
So now, if I say that's not how we allocate our resources, they must say, "Oh, we have resources." You see, some people always say make statements, "I'm broke. I don't have anything." That's not true. That's usually not true. Usually, people have something. They just spend it all. In other words, like there's a
Hmm.
difference between broke, right, and poor. Poor is you don't have anything. Broke is you got a lot of stuff, you just can't pay for it. So you need to. So stop saying that you're broke. Just reallocate how you use your resources, and watch
Hmm.
how you communicate not only to your kids, watch how you communicate to your spouse. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things that you're saying, like, honey, honey, you look beautiful today. Hey, and just talk to them
Yeah, you actually
and be
just
the
made me
positive person.
think about you made me think about something that I used to do. So when I first started dating my wife, we both lived in Boston, but from the first time I asked her out, she was already planning to move to New Jersey. So she actually turned me down the first time, and then a friend of mine helped me out
Right,
to get my first date with her. But when we ended up in separate cities, we used to have it was early time of everybody having cell phones, so you still had to pay a lot of money for your minutes. You had
right,
to wait till after 9 o'clock to talk to each other. And every time when I would get on the phone, the first thing that I would say is, "What was the highlight of your day?" And that was very intentional on my part because what I wanted to do was to set the tone of the conversation already. Even if she was having like a bad day or I was having a bad day, you had to search through that whole day and find the best thing that
right.
happened in that day. So my son actually came up to me a few days ago because I usually pray with him at night. We alternate, me and my wife, and he said, Daddy, one thing I want to do is like when before we pray, I want us to each say what was the good thing from our day. Now he doesn't know that story about my
Right.
wife,
Wow.
but he just
You
said
done
that, and I
passed
was
it
like,
down.
yeah, that's awesome. Because we do similar things with our kids. The words that come out of their mouth are very important because we want to make sure that they are by design crafting who they are, what their character is, being very intentional about the places they see themselves in. We often ask them, aspirational things like what, for example, they all play basketball. We didn't just allow them to like show up to practice and just be at practice. Each time before a game, my wife will ask my son or my daughters, "What are you going to focus on in this game?" what's going to be the thing that is, your mindset is about in this game, because that's a way to orient them and make them be intentional about what they're doing.
Right. That is so helpful in with your children and working them. But everything that you just said there is actually can be applied to adults and in that area. And then I used to do it, but I didn't want it ever to be a punishment. But I would, when my kids got out of the car, when they went into school, I would say this, okay, hey, Grace, hit Alexander with 3 affirmations. Affirmation. Alexander, hey, three, hit him with 3. You're wonderful. I love you. You're a great brother. And then they're getting used to that. But I want them to always have that in their ears, because words are weapons.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah.
we want to use them in a positive, and we're not firing at each other. We're not doing that. So we want to have that and be an encourager. And every day we should be the same thing as we pray, and the same time as we meditate. We need to be listening to positive things and in doing that.
Yeah. And before we continue, I want to let everybody know that if you have a question that you would like George to answer, it can be anything: finances, relationships, getting things done, whether Michael Jordan was your favorite or not. There are a couple ways you can get your question to us. Click the link in the show notes for this episode, where you can leave us your question as a voice recording. You can do this right from your phone, and we'll get it directly. You could follow George on Facebook. The link will be in the show notes as well. Or you can hit me up on any of my social media locations. I am at TZ Lucoma everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So, George, I think we've talked kind of peripherally a little bit about affirmations. What I wanted you to do as we're closing out is to really walk people through: how do you actually create affirmations? What are the pieces that are important for affirmations? And then, even start off, what is an affirmation? And then how to use them.
Right. That's very good. But also, I want to go back to what you said. If you have a question, that'd be great. You can record it. You can. That's a good way of also contacting us and doing that. But then also, you may want to. I'm going to ask you again at the end of this. Hey, why don't you leave us a couple affirmations of your own that we may have at the end? And
Yeah, we might play those.
Yeah, let's play some of them. So first thing about an affirmation is that number one, it is something that is positive. And it's something that you repeat, and you're always speaking in the. I've already said
Hey,
this.
George, you have to say that again because your Wi-Fi cut out.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
say number one, and then go ahead.
Gotcha. Number one that you want to always have is that you want it to be positive. The second that we've already said is it's got to be in the present tense. It's not, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do this. And then you're talking about yourself in the way that you want to see, the way that you want to see yourself positively, and you're actualizing it right now. So you do them, and then you start getting and then you constantly you repeat it, and then it'll actually start to be the way you are. So like a very good example is, I'm the most positive person in the room. You always say that. Then it's I love myself. I am healthy. So you say that I am healthy. These are what we say: healthy, wealthy, wise.
Mm-hmm.
And you always and you utilize them. And then also the last one, make it simple so that you can repeat it. I actually started these in college and have done these all over the years. And then now those are the things that people say about me like that.
Yeah.
I haven't, my kids, and same thing. I have integrity, is that, in everything, so that so then what happens is your mind is recreating it, and then begins to see that
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
you. So then that's what happens, so that it becomes something called muscle memory. Muscle memory is that it's a reflex. So now you're not reacting to things. It's something else.
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I used to think of affirmations as this kind of wishy-washy thing. It's all this kind of stuff. But when you start to do them, it might feel a little weird initially, but you'll start seeing how it changes the way that you think. I think one of the things you said about creating an affirmation that's really important is that piece around it being positive. So an example would be, instead of saying that I don't want to gain weight, you say, I am in shape, and
Right.
I am slim, or I am in this, I have a healthy body, so
Right.
I don't want to get sick, versus I am healthy, right? So
Exactly.
the I am healthy would be the positive way to have the same affirmation that would achieve the same result as not being sick. So
Right.
that's a really important distinction, because if you do the negative version, somehow your mind doesn't hear the I don't want to. So when you say I don't want to be sick, your mind hears I want to be sick. For some
Right.
reason, it's very weird, but that's how it works.
That goes back to the positive. There is no
Yeah.
knots.
Hmm.
I don't have a good memory, but I'm working on it. No,
Hmm.
I have a good memory.
Hmm.
And then I think I said simple, but make it simple and make it fun. Like,
Hmm.
in other words, like, that was actually one of mine that I had in college that I just carried all the way through. Is that I said I have a photographic memory. So then what I did was, it moved to, I just changed it to Kodak. But I
Hmm.
said, man, once you tell me something, it's like having a picture of it. And then it came from a negative experience that I changed to positive. That is one of the things, is that I was playing in a game, and there's a lot of times I played volleyball collegiately, but I was playing with U.S. program during the summer, and one of the times I'll never forget, his coach from Penn State, to be exact, was sitting there talking. He says, "Run this play, run that play, run that," and he was going over all the plays. And then there's a lot of people talking. Then I turned around to go back in, and then I said, "Stop. What was the first thing you said again?" If you could have seen the steam rise from his head, he's like, "This guy can't even remember the first play of what we're doing." And it was, you understand that why it was happening. A lot of players, a lot of different teams. I was trying to get a thing. I was trying to organize office. I had so much going on. I said, you know what? I needed so now whenever I used that, I went back to my room at night. I said, I'm going to make an affirmation about that. I said, man, once you tell me something, I said, once you tell me something, it's like you took a picture of it. My nickname should be Kodak.
Hmm.
Come back later on this, and they say, hey, run X5, this 5. And he starts calling it, and he's telling me all the plays. I like this. Got it. Go out there and then do them. I say, hey, coach, after I said this, that, and then now people are like, gosh, you have such a good memory. And people come up and meet me now. Hey, you remember? Hey, I remember when you came to that seminar. Or I'll say, hey, jog my memory. Then they'll say something. Do you remember me? And I'll say like this, can you jog my memory? So I have the thing. And I'll say, and then by the way, I have an excellent memory. And you always start telling yourself that. So then you begin to have that. And you begin to
Yeah.
actualize that and
Yeah.
begin to be
Our
that.
minds are powerful. I'm always amazed by how your recall for things is. It for me, it's really interesting, because there's certain things I have amazing recall for. Like, if I see a trailer for a movie once, I know that movie. Like, if I see a little snippet of it on TV, I know what the movie is.
Right.
It's that's like a weird thing that just happens with me.
Right.
So when people say that I don't have a good memory, it's not really that you don't have a good memory necessarily. You just have to train your mind. I think
Right.
there's ways that we can train our minds to be
And you
more
hit you hit the you
powerful.
hit the nail on the head when you said recall. Because I'll tell you one thing: people can recall. They'll say, "Oh, I forgot this, I forgot that." But if it involves money, people tend to remember that. Like in that area. So just be intentional about that when you're remembering things. So that's one thing about memory. But then also just be intentional about your affirmations, and also you got to be your biggest fan,
Yeah.
because otherwise, I mean, it starts that way, and then other people come, and there's a lot of things you can learn. And then a lot of my affirmations I actually got from Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? Look how he said that I'm the greatest of all times, and he just had his affirmations. I start off, in the Bible, when the gospel spreading the good news. I started off a Bible study like that, and I started reading it.
Hmm.
I started reading it, and then I started giving out quotes that we had, and I started giving out quotes from Muhammad Ali. And I start
Hmm.
off with the float. I saved the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Yeah.
I start off, I said, I'm fast. I'm so fast that I can turn off the light and get into bed before the room gets dark. I handcuff lightning through thunder in jail. I'm so bad, I make medicine sick. And he would start just going through. I'm like, gosh, like his mind. I mean, I can
Yeah.
see why he is just literally
Yeah.
I mean, but just sit there and say that I'm on the beach, and then around. I'm gonna do. I think he was hyping himself because the thing
Yeah,
is,
if you think about it, all those things were like affirmations that made him have to believe. He needed a high level of belief what he was able to achieve in order to be as great as he was. There's actually this really funny story about him. He was once in an airplane, and the stewardess came up to him, and she was trying to get everybody to put their seatbelts on, and he didn't have his seatbelt on. And so she was like, "Sir, could you put your seatbelt on?" And then he was like, "Superman don't need no seatbelt." And then she was like, "Superman don't need no plane."
right? But see, he
Yeah.
always had
He
a
always ready with
one-line.
his quick
Yeah,
wit.
he was
Yeah.
ready with it, and
Yeah.
he just kept saying that. And look at the effect on him. But then look at it, if you were fighting against him. I heard that even people's family like, you're going to fight Muhammad Ali. He's like this. He's a that. He says he's great. Like
Hmm.
he kept it going,
Yeah.
and I don't know. There's no substitute for just being positive.
Yeah. Well, I have enjoyed this episode. This is one of my favorite topics. Just all these different life tweaks that you can do that
Right.
help you to, exponentially change your ability to do things. Um, so thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Set for Life Conversations with George. If you found value from what we heard today, there's a couple of things you would like you to help us serve you even better. The first, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a question that you want to be answered, drop us a message using the link in the show notes. For today's episode, you can also leave us an affirmation. What's some of the affirmations that you've come up with? Or you can hit us up on social media with the same information. If you're interested in going deeper on any of the topics that George talks about, one of the best ways to do that is to get one of his books from the Ready, Set, Grow series. You can find a link to that in the show notes as well. If you just want to learn about George and what he's about, check out his website at www.georgebthompson.com. As I always say, thanks again for joining us, and we're excited to keep sharing more conversations with you. We are on this journey with you, and we feel like we're going to grow as you grow.
Yes, and one more thing. I'm really excited about getting some comments back from you, and I want to use affirmations. So we want to have positive affirmations, but then also we want to also have biblical affirmations. So let's look at which ones we have, and hey, send them back to me. And I'd like to have us follow up with them. God bless you.
Excellent.